Welcome to the deep dive. So, New York City, wow, what a political moment we're seeing.
Oh, absolutely. A huge shift.
Yeah.
Really, seismic is the word.
Yeah, the curtain's really come down, hasn't it, on the Eric Adams mayoralty controversial ending.
Very dramatically.
Yeah.
And now we're right at the start of something completely new.
Uh-huh.
A whole different political playbook.
It really is. We're going from Adams, the establishment guy, promising safety, recovery.
Right, but ending, well, under a cloud of scandal.
Yeah.
And shifting straight to Zohran Mamdani.
Self-described democratic socialist. His whole
Yeah.
thing is aggressive economic justice. It's quite the contrast.
A stark contrast, yeah.
So for this deep dive, we've looked at the election results, profiles, lots of policy analysis. And our goal here is simple. We want to quickly unpack what happened with Adams, the sort of tragedy, the squandered potential people talk about.
And then pivot to Mamdani. His historic win, what he's promising, and the huge challenges he's facing right out of the gate.
Yeah, the political hurdles, the practical stuff.
Exactly. And what really stands out is, this feels like the end of an era for moderate New York Democrats, the, quote, old guard.
And the start of something else.
Very much so. A new wave, maybe more uncompromising, fueled by this massive voter demand for change.
Okay, let's kick off there with the story that just wrapped up. Eric Adams. If you look back, it almost feels like the end was foreshadowed from the start.
It does, doesn't it? Think back to, Act 1, January 1st, 2022, midnight in Times Square, big promises. Rebirth for the city.
Right, but who was standing right there with him?
Exactly. The advisors who, as the sources point out, became central to the problems. Lewis Martin, Pearson, Greco.
The ones linked to that steady drumbeat of investigations.
That's it, the corruption charges that really defined his term, his single term.
And the sources, they seem to hone in on, one main thing with Adams, a character issue.
Yeah, this idea of stubborn loyalty keeps coming up. It's called his fatal flaw in a few places.
Right.
And that loyalty, that perceived flaw, really led to the biggest self-inflicted wound, the federal corruption charges last year.
Which then led to something pretty unprecedented. Cooperating with the Trump administration during the election.
Devastating politically. I mean, think about it. A Democratic mayor.
Okay, but wait, let's be clear. The sources say he denied any quid pro quo, right? No hard evidence of a direct trade for dropping charges.
That's true. He denied it publicly. And, formally, there wasn't proof of a bargain, but the optics.
Ah, the perception.
Exactly. The perception was just fatal.
Yep.
Especially when Trump won re-election, and then his DOJ moved to dismiss the charges against Adams.
And the judge even commented.
Yes, the judge agreed to dismiss, but actually said on the record that the whole thing smacks of a bargain. That's a direct quote.
Wow.
And you had figures like former Governor David Patterson saying Adams gave up his identity, that he owed them. The perception just stuck.
So that's the legacy. Scandal, political deals, even if denied. But what about actual accomplishments? That's the tragedy part, right?
Yeah.
Things got buried.
Totally buried. And that's the frustrating part for his allies, you can imagine. He is credited with real progress on crime reduction. Most major categories saw drops.
And policy wins. I remember hearing about housing.
Yeah, the City of Yes rezoning package, that was significant. And things people see every day, like garbage management. Huge changes led by officials like Torres Springer and Jessica Tisch. Really effective work.
But it just doesn't get linked back to him.
Not really. It's all overshadowed. Take the migrant crisis as a perfect example.
Okay.
Logistically, the city's response, standing up hundreds of shelters, new systems for, 200,000 people? That's incredibly impressive on paper.
Right. Managing that influx is a massive undertaking.
But then what does Adams say? He says the issue will destroy New York City.
Oof. Yeah, that didn't go over well with Democrats.
Not at all. It completely alienated his base, even while his administration was, actually providing the shelter and services. It's just a case study in that mixed record. Good work, undermined by political missteps and rhetoric. A tragedy of potential, perhaps.
And that sense of failure, that disillusionment with the old guard, it just paves the way perfectly for someone like Zohran Mamdani.
Directly, it's a massive pendulum swing, not just ideologically, but demographically, too.
Explain that significance. What makes his win so historic?
Well, first, age. He's 34. That makes him the city's youngest mayor in over 100 years.
Wow.
He's the city's first Muslim mayor. His background is South Asian and Ugandan heritage.
And crucially, the ideology.
Right. He is very upfront about being a democratic socialist. That means his whole framework is about using government power taxes, state intervention to tackle economic inequality head-on, redistribute resources.
And he beat some pretty established names, Andrew Cuomo running as an independent.
Yeah, former Governor Cuomo and the Republican Curtis Sliwa. And it wasn't like a squeaker either.
The sources say he got a clear mandate.
Absolutely. Over 50% in the general election. So, forget any debate about whether he really has the backing. Turnout was huge, too. Over 2 million voters. First time the city's seen that level of participation since 1969, I believe the report said.
So people were motivated. What was driving them?
It really boiled down to one thing.
Yeah.
Change versus experience. The CBS News exit polls were really clear on this.
Mamdani voters needed
change. Overwhelmingly, Cuomo voters, they were looking for experience.
Change won out big time.
Hugely.
Yeah.
And Mamdani's campaign itself is something people are going to study. He comes from a background in foreclosure prevention counseling, then state assembly.
Right.
But his campaign focus was relentless. Cost of living. He coined terms like halalflation.
Which is brilliant, politically,
Yeah.
instantly relatable.
Exactly. Connects rising prices to a specific community experience. And his social media game was just different. Viral stuff. Pictures from a subway elopement, running the marathon while talking about rent. Very innovative.
Speaking policy relatable, not abstract.
Precisely. And it worked. It galvanized young voters, first-time voters, especially people of color, all around that core message of economic justice.
And his promise after winning.
Pretty direct. He said, I'm here to build a city that works for everyone, not just the rich and powerful. And he invoked LaGuardia, promising the most ambitious attack on the cost of living crisis since him.
Strong words. So that brings us to what people expect him to do. What are the biggest issues for New Yorkers right now, according to the data?
No surprise here. Top of the list. General cost of living. That's 59% of New Yorkers.
Okay.
And right behind it, housing costs specifically at 53%.
Yeah.
That's the pressure cooker he's stepping into.
Which explains his platform, the abundance agenda, as he calls it.
Yep, and compared to recent city politics, it's pretty radical. Let's break down some key parts for you.
Okay, number one, rent freezes.
Yeah. For the more than 2 million tenants in rent-stabilized apartments, just freezing their rents.
That sounds like a massive intervention. What's the immediate counter-argument you see in the sources?
The pushback, it's about maintenance. Experts immediately warn that if you freeze rents that hard, landlords might not have the income or the incentive to keep the buildings in good repair.
So potentially declining housing quality.
That's the concern raised, yeah. That it could impact the upkeep of the housing stock itself.
Okay. Policy number two.
Universal childcare. Free care for kids from 6 weeks old up to 5 years.
Wow, free.
Free. And part of that is raising the salaries for childcare workers to match public school teachers, addressing both access and labor issues.
Okay.
Third, free buses. Expand the routes that are fare-free and add more dedicated bus lanes to speed things up.
Now this one caused some friction during the campaign, didn't it? Cuomo jumped on this.
He did. Cuomo called it an unnecessary benefit for wealthy New Yorkers. That was his line of attack.
How did Mamdani's team respond to that specific criticism? Did they have data?
Their argument focused on who relies most on buses. They highlighted, working-class communities, people in transit deserts who spend a big chunk of their income on fares.
So for them, it's not a luxury, it's an economic necessity.
Exactly.
Right.
Free fares plus faster buses equals better access to jobs, education, healthcare. That was the counter. Economic opportunity for the poorest.
Got it. And the fourth big policy idea, this one sounds potentially the most controversial.
It probably is. City-owned grocery stores.
Government-run supermarkets.
Essentially, yes. The proposal is for 5 stores, 1 in each borough, subsidized by the city government. The goal is to directly compete on price and combat rising food costs, inflation, and all that.
Okay, I can already hear the criticisms. What are people saying?
Well, the harshest critics, as noted in some reports, are likening it to Soviet-era food rationing.
Ouch.
Yeah, the argument is it's a massive government overreach, distorts the free market, that sort of thing. It definitely hits an ideological nerve.
No kidding. So you've got rent freezes, universal childcare, free buses, city groceries. That's ambitious, doesn't even cover it.
It's transformative, if it happens.
If it happens. Which brings us to the giant elephant in the room.
Yeah.
How do you pay for all this?
Right. The funding. Mamdani's plan is aiming for about $5 billion in new revenue,
And where's that coming from?
primarily taxing the wealthy. Specifically, a new flat 2% tax on the top 1% of earners,
Okay.
and also raising the corporate tax rate to 11.5%.
So taxing the rich and corporations. Sounds straightforward enough on paper for his base, but what's the reality?
Here's the massive hurdle, maybe the biggest one you need to watch. As mayor, he can't just implement these taxes.
He needs Albany.
He needs the state legislature and, crucially, Governor Kathy Hochul to approve them.
And Hochul, she endorsed Mamdani, right? But what's her stance on these taxes?
This is where it gets really tricky. Despite the endorsement, Hochul has already said quite clearly she will oppose tax hikes on the wealthiest New Yorkers.
Why? What's her reasoning?
She's warning it could drive business leaders and high-income earners out of New York. The classic capital flight argument.
So the Democratic governor of the state is already drawing a line in the sand against her own party's mayor's core funding plan.
Pretty much. It sets up an immediate high-stakes battle within the Democratic Party itself. A progressive mayor versus a more moderate governor.
That could basically stall the entire abundance agenda before it even gets going. A huge headwind.
Absolutely critical. It's the central drama to watch politically.
Okay, besides the massive economic agenda, what about other pressing issues? Public safety always ranks high.
Still a top concern, yeah. About 34% of New Yorkers list it. Homelessness, too, around 36%. Mamdani's line on this is, safety and justice will go hand in hand.
What does that mean in practice? What can he actually do quickly?
Well, appointments are key. He gets to pick his leadership team. A new police commissioner, a new corrections commissioner.
Reform-minded picks, presumably.
That's the expectation. And critically, she needs to empower the deputy mayor for public safety. That role is vital for coordinating things beyond just policing.
Like what?
Diversion programs, making sure civilian oversight of the police actually works, and coordinating the city's mental health response, making it all part of a unified safety strategy.
And the crisis at Rikers Island isn't going away. That's immediate.
Urgent. A federal judge literally stripped the city of control temporarily. So Mamdani has to jump right in. Ensure transparency, speed up processing for people held pre-trial, and finally clarify the plan to close the place down. It's been delayed forever.
So less focus on just cops on the street, more on the whole system.
Exactly. It's a shift away from just focusing on, say, headcount, which was kind of the Adams approach. The focus now is more on long-term prevention, structural investments.
And a big part of that is this Be Heard program. Remind us what that is.
Right. Be Heard. Behavioral Health Emergency Assistance Response Division. It's the program where trained mental health professionals, EMTs, social workers.
Not police officers.
Not police. They respond to 911 calls about mental health crises.
And the plan is to expand that.
Massively. The pilot program was already handling about a quarter of eligible calls, but only in half the city and only for 16 hours a day. The goal now, 24 hours a day, citywide coverage. That would be a huge change in how the city handles mental health emergencies.
What else falls under prevention?
Things like funding violence interruption programs, more housing assistance, youth employment initiatives, even environmental design, better street lighting, more green spaces, things that make communities safer from the ground up.
And there's mention of restoring a specific city office.
Yes, the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice. Apparently it was weakened under Adams. The idea is to rebuild its capacity to coordinate all these different investments, housing, mental health, restorative justice, treating them as fundamental parts of preventing crime in the first place.
So it's a really holistic view of safety, not just reaction, but a deep structural change.
That's the philosophy, absolutely.
Okay, so pulling this all together for you listening,
Yeah.
you can really see Mamdani's victory as this powerful, direct reaction. A reaction against the scandals, the perceived failures, and definitely the economic stress that marked the end of the Adams years.
Yeah, it feels like voters were sending a very clear message. They wanted a fundamental shift in what city government does and who it prioritizes.
But now comes the hard part.
Always. The core tension for Mamdani is going to be balancing the poetry of the campaign, those big radical ideas that got people excited.
The abundance agenda.
Right. Balancing that with the pros of actually governing. The day-to-day practicalities, the compromises, the pushback.
Especially that pushback on funding from the governor, from the business community. That seems like the biggest immediate test.
It really is.
Yeah.
Can he navigate that opposition to his main funding plan? That's question number one.
And it raises a bigger question, too, with national implications. The sources say progressives see his win as a blueprint, right? A model for campaigning.
Yeah, especially the focus on cost of living and the grassroots canvassing.
And Mamdani himself, he said New York will be the light, showing the country how to beat figures like Trump, especially in this second Trump era we're in.
Strong rhetoric.
But here's the final thought for you. Given these huge headwinds right here in New York, the governor, The financial pressures, can this very local, very ambitious, progressive agenda actually succeed in a way that does translate? Can it really become a viable national model for Democrats, especially now?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe
Yeah.
the $5 billion question in this case,
Yeah.
is what everyone will be watching.